it opened them up to it. Art opens people up to a new culture, a new way of thinking, a new way of expression, and it sets off light bulbs in people, and you don't know how it can affect somebody, just like your attitude, just like a great teacher in a classroom. So, I think we're all students in this world, really.
Yeah,
that's
true.
My father is an artist, as I said. He's going to be 92, and some days he says to me, when we talk, he goes, I don't know why I'm still here. And I said, well, Dad, and he's a spiritual guy, and I said, Dad, you probably haven't learned all the lessons in life yet that you need to learn. And he would be one that, very strict father, and you wouldn't say what's on your mind. And then he'd look at me almost like I'm talking to him back as a 55-year-old man, and he smiles a little and goes, I think you're right.
Yeah.
So,
because we don't always know we don't know everything.
Right.
And one thing you mentioned about how art brings culture together. It really does. Because that's one of the things that I did with my kids. And even though I didn't know anything about art or museums, I remember a time when I took them to a museum.
Wonderful.
And I was letting them know, and I was saying, hey, just look around. We just looked around. But out of that, it made them more acceptable of culture, of people in differences.
Absolutely.
And so now they can talk to anybody. It's not just one set of people or one race of people, know. And I think that the more we understand that, we can really develop a lot of wisdom, guidance, understanding, if we do embrace other cultures, if we do embrace different nationalities, because we can all learn from them.
Right.
And
exactly.
There was one thing you had mentioned. You said that about your painting that when the people come, you want them to feel like a child, have that childlike character. And that was really interesting, because there's a painting you have on Fine Art America that I'm looking through your art gallery there, and there's one picture stuck out to me, and that was the one that says, "We're the past, what you left behind." Oh,
I see the black and white.
And there was the black and white, but it spoke to me, because you talk about how your art speaks, and you wanted to touch someone, and I'm looking at the picture, and I was like, "What we left behind."
Got you thinking?
Yeah, it got me thinking of all of the history and everybody's struggles and everybody's their habits or the things that they created, light bulbs, whatever the situation, whatever it is, it's like we can't leave that behind. And you just reminding, when I saw that, reminding, we left this behind. We're not remembering the fathers of old. We're not remembering how we got here. It's like, oh, well, that was then, this is now.
Right.
But our foundation came from the sweat, and the tears, and the blood of people to bring us to where we are now.
Right.
And I love the fact that you said that you like to have your art and express it in color. So could you share some of the colors of the emotions that you use?
Good question. Well, my favorite color is blue, and I don't know particularly why, but I've actually been working in a lot of, I like right now the contrast between the white and the black, but also colors that come out in there. They always say red is an angry color, and I was just working on some pieces this morning before coming over here, and it's just got little hints of red throughout it. But red is a strong color and a warm color or a hot color, really, and I think positive color in a lot of ways, because it says I have something to say, But to me, colors, I think my least favorite color, like as a child, was yellow, yet I'm starting to embrace yellow as I get older and older. And the wonderful thing is you have contrasting colors. Yellow's opposite is purple. Red's complementary color is green. Orange's complementary color is blue. And they play off each other. And I just love the interaction and the playfulness in color and in form. And, there's what we call sometimes colorful characters, colorful people in life with their attitudes and so on. But for me, color expresses an emotion and a feeling. And a lot has to do, too. A lot of my work has to do with what's going on in society today, what's going on in the world today, what's going on in our environment, and that kind of thing. And a lot of the angst and the good, and recording that through my artwork. But color, I think, is the first and the foremost thing that I utilize in my work in order to get an emotion out and, speaking there.
Well, I see that you brought with you one of your paintings.
Yeah, this
one.
Can
you explain that?
Yeah, this one I call Peril, and it's a face. And a lot of times, this is one of my, I guess in some ways, it's one of the childlike ones that I've been working on. It's a small painting. It's a foot by a foot. It's done on wood. There's a lot of layers to it. It's mixed media, and mixed media means that you use a lot of different materials in order to create the piece of work. This is done with acrylic paint. I believe there's some even watercolor way at the bottom. It's photo transfer. It's taking different other photographs or newspaper print or whatever and transferring it onto the board. But I did this piece, Opal, last year. I believe it was last year now, after the Paris attacks over in Europe. A lot of those really, as I said, what goes on in the world, what goes on in society affects me. And sometimes I'm doing my artwork not consciously thinking of the Paris attacks, but I'm a news junkie, so I watch the news a lot. I listen to NPR. I listen to a lot of the radio stations. National and international news, and I'm concerned with what goes on in the world. And as an artist, I think we are. So this is a face. There's red in it. There's a red box around the face. There's a beret basically on the head of the person, which is kind of a Parisian hat. And if you notice over I guess it's left eyebrow, it's kind of like the Eiffel Tower. And a lot of these things, it's just more of like a triangle, but to me, a lot of these things I just did unconsciously, but my work sometimes speaks to me a week, a month, even 6 months after I do it of what I was going through at the time. It comes out and I create, but I'm not always consciously thinking about it. It's an unconscious kind of force, I guess, inside that comes out. And you've got a face and a neck, but the neck actually kind of plays tricks on you. It could be two legs coming out of the face without a body, and it's almost disjointed and so on, because that's some maybe representational of how I see the world. The mouth is open with big red mouth, which again, to me, signifies maybe anger, terror, fear. The eyes they have red in them, and underneath them where the white of the eyes is, I made yellow. And again, this was not so much conscious, but unconscious. But, and then if you look underneath the eyes, you'll see a lot of like white dots, and beyond that you can see blue. And to me, it's almost like the ocean, and it's
crying out.
Yeah. It's crying out. And the ocean can also wash the anxiety away too, wash the fears away, and so I use a lot of symbols in my work. I use a lot of symbolism and symbols, and the other thing that you talked about, people look at this and they might see something totally different. They may see something happy there. They may, and I always, in some ways, I hate when people ask, what were you trying to communicate here? Because I don't want them to know what I was communicating. I want to know what they find in it, whether it's a realistic painting or not, or an abstract painting. I want them to tell me what they see in it. And, I had done a series of different faces, and they were kind of human but animal looking things. prior to this, and I had a one-person show up in Buffalo at a wonderful gallery that just closed, Barbara and Dan Hart, Studio Hart, down on Allen Street. And that was dealing with depression and anxiety and mental illness and, a lot of my own struggles. But I had the first painting I did in the whole series of work, about 20 paintings, and I brought it to my first festival in Gainesville a year and a half ago. And this young couple with 2 kids, and their son was autistic, and he was wonderful. He rocked back and forth, and, you could just see him. He was on a different level than the rest of us, but yet he was communicating in his own way. Mm-hmm. And the mother kept coming back to the painting, and the father's favorite color was orange, and he was looking at my orange paintings, and the mother was looking at this one face, and I called it the painting vacant, and it was almost like a skeletal face. And it just made her cry. And she said to the husband, "It just makes me cry." He goes, "Then we should buy it." She goes, "Oh, great. So I could hang it on the wall, and every time I look at it, cry? You want me to cry all the time?" And, they kind of laughed.
Yeah.
But again, they came back a couple times, and then they tried paying me with an American Express, and my little charge thing on my phone didn't take it. And they ran out to a ATM and came back with cash. That's how much the painting spoke to them. And so again, and I always feel that when art speaks to somebody, mm-hmm. and somebody really wants to have that mm-hmm. piece, that I have to do, whether it's the layaway plan mm-hmm. or whatever, make it possible so that that person can have mm-hmm. that piece of mm-hmm. art that speaks to them so much. Mm-hmm. But there's so many things in life that speak to us. Right. And
if we're willing to listen to it.
Well, that's the key. Because, there's an old saying somewhere that says it's better to listen than to be heard. Mm-hmm. But we all want to be heard too. It's a give and take.
Yeah.
It's a give and take.
Yeah, I'm looking at this picture, and I'm looking at the red around the picture. Mm-hmm. And to me, it says, I'm angry that I'm locked in.
Mm-hmm. It is locked in. Right.
I can't get out, or this is happening, or this is not, and it also can represent this is not changing. Why mm-hmm. isn't this changing? Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Opal, I think you might also have another career as an art critic,
I was looking at the X, because you have X on the picture.
I love X's.
Yeah.
And I use X's a lot in my work, and X to me says, stay away. Don't come here.
Yeah.
You can't come here. And of mm-hmm. course, as humans, when somebody says you can't, boy, you're going to prove to them, oh, yes, I can,
right.
Or stay away, but X's also mean, X's and O's mean hugs and kisses too. Mm-hmm. When you put an X and O mm-hmm. and you're signing something, I don't know, is the X the kiss or is the O the kiss? I don't remember. But,
hugs and kisses.
Yeah. But anyway.
But I noticed that even though you have the red X, you have one X that has a white box around.
Oh, interesting.
And you have another X that's not red, it's blue, but inside is white, and the blue is around, mm-hmm. which shows that, you can't come because you have a solid X and it's just all red. Mm-hmm. You're like, you can't come. Well, you're making your way into my life. So, now you're in my life by the light blue. It's like, okay, I see what's going on now. Well, before it's like, no, I don't see nothing. I can't believe that you got me boxed in, you see? But it's like a progression. Okay, I see what's happening. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. So that's what I see.
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
You're teaching me stuff about my own work, Opal. I appreciate
it. It was
that.
meant to be. Well, you know what? Again, there you go. You create, mm-hmm. and you want us to look at what you create and to get what we interpret out of it. So it's going to relate to me. Like, okay, yeah, you have the red box. And you may be angry about certain things, and you may feel like nothing is ever going to change. Mm-hmm. But if you look at it in a different view and you look at it in a different way, you realize the red becomes lighter and lighter and lighter till you're like, I understand what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.